So this past Saturday, Bound for Glory, which is Impact Wrestling's equivalent of WrestleMania, if you will. Some may argue that Slammiversary is, but I think they look at Slammiversary as sort of being like, oh, I don't know, the SummerSlam or something, seeing as though it only takes place in the summer. But anyway, Bound for Glory happened this past Saturday from Sam's Town in Las Vegas. Now, I'll be honest, when I saw some of the pictures of what the arena looked like or what the venue looked like, I thought honestly they were back in Skywood Studios. Like something happened and they had to basically reroute their plans for Bound for Glory's destination. But that wasn't the case. Apparently the new lighting and the new staging and all that we saw at Skyward Studios, is pretty much the norm now for Impact Wrestling. And, again, I thought, they were back at Skywards, when I saw the setup and everything, but that wasn't the case. And, of course, a lot of noteworthy things came out of Bound for Glory. One, we have a new Knockouts champion in Mickie James, who a lot of fans are kind of back and forth about, when it comes to her beating Deonna Purrazzo. Second, we have a new X Division champion in Trey Miguel. And third, we have a new Impact World Champion, not once but twice. The first time being Josh Alexander beating Christian by submission, and then Moose cashing in his Call Your Shot opportunity that he won during Bound for Glory when he participated in the Call Your Shot Battle Royal Gauntlet or whatever it was. So yeah, basically it went from Josh Alexander winning it to Moose winning it. And now apparently, according to a lot of people, it seems that now we're going to get Impact Wrestling's equivalent of the Daniel Bryan story from 2013-2014, when he pretty much, became champion and then it was taken away from him, just like that within this, within the same moment, if you know what I mean. But those, I should say, were not the only newsworthy things that came out of Bound for Glory this past week, or this past Saturday as well. Basically, there was talk going on and discussion going on that, Bound for Glory was essentially Bound for Glory was going to be the final night of the partnership between All Elite Wrestling and Impact Wrestling, AEW and Impact. And the reason this basically, in my opinion, topped a lot of what happened, during the event is because now the question obviously is, where does Impact go from here if they're no longer going to be partnered with AEW? Now, let's make something perfectly clear. Even though the partnership is over, it doesn't mean the door is completely closed. Although some could, interpret what Josh Alexander said in his promo on the Go Home edition of Impact Bound for Glory, that he said, to Christian about slamming that door behind Christian, after he beat him. Some can interpret that as basically saying that Impact is, pretty much not going to, open the door for any more AEW participation of any kind. And if that's true, then obviously Impact feels confident enough that they don't need AEW anymore to kind of, run the ship and run things smoothly. And maybe the decision they made on, Saturday to go from Josh to Moose, as far as the world title is concerned, might have been that way, might have been their answer to potentially doing that, because everybody likes the kind of underdog story that they're going to probably be telling, the underdog redemption story that they're going to tell with Alexander to try to, basically, showcase him trying to retain the Impact World title from Moose. Now, again, that sounds great and everything, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. Impact Wrestling is from a television perspective, if you will, Impact Wrestling is on a cable channel that not many people have in their areas. And here's the thing. Even though Impact Wrestling does have Twitch as its backup to simulcast on, not everybody will utilize Twitch to watch Impact Wrestling, on Thursday night. They'd rather be using Twitch to play video games or do whatever else. So basically what I'm saying here is the advantage that Impact had with this partnership with AEW is they got a little more exposure on their product. And, it allowed people to kind of want to know more about them, wanted to look at the YouTube page, the Twitters, the Facebooks. It gave them exposure, but now that they're no longer going to be partnered with Impact, with AEW, Impact is pretty much, again, like I said, once more on their own. And yeah, like I said, they got a storyline that will grab anybody's attention and get people invested. But unless a lot of fans are demanding their cable companies to put Access TV, as part of their cable packages in their region, if I'm Anthem Sports, honestly, I start looking for a new cable outlet. I really do. I start looking for a new cable outlet to broadcast Impact Wrestling on. I don't just remain on Access TV, even though it's probably the best choice for me right now. Of course I have the Twitch situation, or the Twitch simulcast. I basically start looking for other avenues. I really do. If they want to take anything from the partnership, that they may have learned from AEW, is YouTube is another great venue. YouTube is another great outlet to broadcast your shows. Take a look at the fact that when they did that one show after Kenny Omega became champion for them, okay? Or Kenny Omega was going to show up in his preparation to become champion. What happened? A lot of people tuned in to the live broadcast or the replay broadcast on YouTube, more so than expected, more so than I think, Impact expected at all. So if that's any example of what, basically putting, an actual current episode of Impact Wrestling on YouTube is capable of doing from a viewership standpoint, then maybe YouTube is the other outlet they need to go with. If you want to stay on Twitch, that's fine, but also go with YouTube, is my opinion. And you know what? I get that, Twitch is part of Amazon and, is owned by Amazon in some capacity. Maybe strike up a deal. If I'm Anthem Sports, strike up a deal with Amazon Prime and say, hey, I want to put my show on Prime Video. I want to simulcast live my show on Prime Video. Because here's the thing, yeah, Prime Video does have Thursday Night Football, don't get me wrong. But you can't tell me that Amazon doesn't have the ability to simulcast 2 live broadcasts. You can't tell me they don't have that capability. They do. All they have to do is just, simulcast off of the Access TV broadcast, and there you go. The same thing that Twitch does. And again, like I said, they're no strangers to that because they do that currently with, guess what? Thursday night football or Sunday morning or early Sunday morning football, like when they do the international games. I don't know if they'll do any international games this year, but we'll see. But you get where I'm coming from. So, there's no stopping, Anthem Sports, Impact, if you will, from making these kind of arrangements to get people to watch their product. There's no stopping them. There's no stopping them whatsoever. The only one stopping them, actually, is themselves. Now look. What I'm trying to say is, and it's early while I'm doing this, I do apologize. But I get the fact that, maybe the deal they have with, with Access only permits them to do Twitch. I understand that. I get that. I really do. But still, it should, but still, if you're Anthem Sports and you have all this money, but apparently, to the point that you're able to buy ownership of a company from a place like Panda Energy and Dixie Carter and her family, if you have the money to do that, then obviously you have the means, you have the finances to be able to go out and say, all right, what can we do, to what can we do to basically expand our horizons? And to me, the best thing to do, to expand your horizons is, to go with several options that are in front of you. I mean, YouTube, like I said, is one way. I mean, look, let's look at it this way. For the first time ever, as far as I know, of any wrestling promotion, they used YouTube's purchasing system to have fans pay to buy for about $40, pay to buy Bound for Glory off their YouTube page to live stream it, and maybe even buy the replay. Never once has any promotion, well, maybe some, but never once has any real major promotion to an extent done that, unless they want to try to broaden their horizons, expand their viewership. And maybe that is a sign of things to come, but we'll see. But like I said, they got a whole list of options in front of them. Like I said, YouTube, trying to maybe, I guess, promote or upgrade the partnership with Twitch, Amazon, if you will, from the Twitch Prime Video service to Amazon Prime Video. That's one way. Heck, they got Pluto TV. They have their own freaking channel on Pluto TV. Why not utilize that? Take advantage of that. If you will. And again, you got all these other options out there. You got the Ruco channel, which is Impact Plus. You got that. You got all these opportunities. You got all these advantages. And another thing, too, if Access has a mobile app that allows people to watch their programming there, maybe have Access allow you to broadcast your show live, or at least what assumes to be live, which is actually a taped show, but you get the idea, live when it broadcasts on that as well, so that if anybody doesn't have Access TV, they can go to an Access app and be able to watch it like that. Again, the options are there. They just need to take advantage of them. You just need to take advantage of them, because honestly, like I said earlier, it is one thing they got out of this whole situation, this whole partnership with AEW, was the fact that they had a lot more exposure than they've ever had. The last time they had major exposure was FS1, Spike, Destination America. They had all these options. They gave them a lot of exposure. And it was to the benefit. I know some people might say Destination America, that doesn't sound like a good place for them to have had this show. Well, they did. They did have the show there at one point, and it actually got some decent views. Maybe not as much as on Spike, but still it got some decent views. And then they had that one place they went to, but that didn't last long. And now they're here on Access TV. And when I go back to this whole YouTube situation, I remember when they were going through, I don't know if it was FS1 to Spike or was Spike to Destination America, but I remember when they were going through a time, trying to find a new cable channel, who did they rely on to showcase Impact Wrestling? Who did Impact TNA rely on? YouTube. They used their YouTube channel. So why not go back to that? it makes a lot of sense if you're going to broaden your horizons. And it makes a lot of sense to broaden your horizons by following up on what you did for Bound for Glory. But this time, showcase your weekly show for free. Because, obviously, not a lot of people, like I said earlier, use Twitch to watch wrestling. I mean, yeah, AAA has a Twitch channel. That's great. And, you can watch any AAA event, past and present, on there. That's great. But, again, the point that I'm getting at is YouTube, a place like YouTube, has more exposure to be given than something like Twitch. And that's the truth. Whether you agree with anything YouTube, pretty much does behind the scenes or not, they have a lot more exposure than Twitch. And again, like I said, this is the advantage they had with AEW. People, got to see what they were capable of doing. People got to watch what they were doing, if you catch my drift. I mean, let's take a look at this. Okay? The Impact World title. The Impact World title, one of Kenny Omega's last major defenses for that title, actually the last of two, the last of a few, I should say. But anyway, one of the last major exposure defenses for that title when Kenny had it was at Daly's place when Moose came over there to face him. And even though he didn't win, still, and even though that was on Impact Plus, in a sense, guess who it had commentating? It had AEW commentators commentating it along with Scott D'Amore, who was there representing Impact. And people liked it. People liked it because those at Daly's place, the few that was there when it happened, enjoyed the match. Because it was something they thought they never see on that grand scale. Now, true, they fixed up the ring and everything to kind of look like it was a unbiased ring and all that. Like, this is now neutral territory, and that's fine. But still, the fact that they defended the belt at Daly's place, and even though it was showcased, what was it on one of the Impact Plus special events, it was still major exposure. It still was major exposure, if you will. Because, again, AEW, I think, picked up on it a little bit. It was something. It was something for them to enjoy. That being Impact Wrestling and AEW was something for both of them to enjoy because it was benefiting both people, both sides. It was exposing the AEW fans to this other promotion that Kenny was champion of. And it was exposing them to talent they had heard of but not really seen. And, in this case being Moose. But besides that one time, the only other second major defense on a broader scale for that championship was on the first episode of Rampage in Chicago. Well, not Chicago, but it was the first episode of Rampage the week prior to Chicago. And guess what? That match main evented Rampage. And the title switched hands. Impact Wrestling could have been like, no, we're not going to let you switch the title, on your show or anything, and to, get your main event over. But here's the thing. They did it because they knew it would give them the exposure they needed. The thing with Moose and Kenny at Daly's place, that was a test. And that was a test that passed. So now they decided, okay, that passed the test. What can we do to up the ante? And they obviously realized, well, you did it you used our home, for your event to basically defend your idol, on your streaming platform. So guess what? Now it's our turn. And oh, by the way, we're going to go bigger and better. and we're going to help you have more exposure by having Christian challenge Kenny Omega for your title on the first debut episode of Rampage on TNT. And that's what happened. And Impact got more exposure from that main event, between Christian and Kenny with their title on the line than they've ever had. And now they want to throw that all away. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If I'm Impact Wrestling, I try to renew talks to continue this partnership. Or at least renew talks enough to where it gives me, as a company and as the owners, enough time to find a new cable outlet to broadcast my show, broadcast my product. And then I won't need to, rely on, a company like AEW to help me out or anything. So to me, Impact Wrestling and AEW ending their partnership, at Bound for Glory when they did, I don't know about that. If I'm Impact Wrestling, I look at the fact that this gave me a lot of exposure, and it's exposure that my company can honestly need right now, seeing as though the outlet that I'm on, ladies and gentlemen, the main outlet, is not shown or not received in many households across the country on many cable outlets because of the fact that there are obviously no deals in place, or nor is there a real demand for Access TV. I mean, the only time Access TV had a real demand, honestly, when it came to wrestling is when they had New Japan. And that's it. I mean, Impact Wrestling is better off, really, when you think about it, going the route that Ring of Honor has gone. And that's syndication. Yeah. Ring of Honor, believe it or not, gets more exposure through the various syndication broadcasts than I think Impact does. And, Impact could benefit from something like that in the long run, too, if they wanted to go syndication, because they could be in all the households they want. But to each their own, right? To each their own. So, here's the thing. I get Impact pretty much feels that they got what they wanted out of it. No doubt about it. I feel they got what they wanted out of it. The exposure they needed. But I would have kept it going. I would have found a way to keep it going between the two. Now, maybe something happened behind the scenes to where Impact was like, well, wait a minute, Tony Khan. I thought this partnership was to give us a lot of exposure. Yeah, you showed our championship on your shows and your pay-per-views and such. That's great. But why weren't you guys promoting, the matches Kenny was going to be on Impact, or Christian was going to be a part of, on Impact and all that, on our show, on our pay-per-views or special events? Where was that? Maybe that was an issue. Maybe that became an issue, and, that's what caused the partnership to end. I don't know. But I do know this. Again, hopefully, if on both sides, I try to work something out, because I think it was beneficial, not just for AEW to have, some Impact talent come in and defend their titles and showcase what they can do, because, the Impact title wasn't the only title that was defended there. The Good Brothers, who I think are kind of stuck in the middle right now, unless they can pull some strings. The Good Brothers defended their Impact tag titles on, I think it was on Dynamite. And that got the Impact tag team titles more exposure than I think they've ever had in a while, too. So again, it's a situation that honestly needs to be addressed, and hopefully it will. I mean, the NWA, honestly, they have a partnership going on with AEW, and once in a while their champions will show up. I mean, what was it? Camille showed up recently to help promote the NWA Empower event and also see who her opponent was going to be there. So, yeah, it's, even the NWA realizes, hey, we might be on Fight TV and once in a while our episodes may be showcased on YouTube and everything, but we need more exposure than what we have. And going to, AEW on TNT is a good way to expose the world to, who the stars are and who the champions are. The same with the likes of AAA, even though a lot of people know who they are. New Japan, even though a lot of people know who they are. It's still great exposure, so that way you get to know who these people are, and if they're champions, you get to see, who the champions of, down the line. Or at the same time, I should say. But honestly, again, if I'm Impact, I don't rush out of this deal. If I'm Impact in AEW, I don't end this deal right away. What I do honestly is I work out a deal. I work out a deal between the two sides, and I try to make something more acceptable, more agreeable, if you will. And maybe that's what they're doing. But I think, continuing the partnership or renewing the partnership is the best option for them right now. That being Impact more so than AEW. And maybe if they are renegotiating out a deal, to continue the partnership, maybe part of that negotiation is, hey, if we're going to do this again, AEW, please give us exposure, not just with our champions being on there, but give us exposure by promoting our events, promoting, when a championship is going to be defended or when one of your stars is going to show up in Impact, stuff like that. So, again, hopefully they can work this out, because I think it's beneficial for both sides. I really do. I mean, I don't know, maybe they were just waiting to finally get out of Skyward Studios and go to Sam's Town, and then in January, Dallas, Texas, and maybe that's part of their reason they went with the partnership. I don't know. I don't really know. But again, all I can say is this: Impact, AEW. If I'm you, Tony Khan, Anthem Sports, if I'm you, I renew this partnership. I keep it going. And if you have to agree to terms of, hey, give Impact Wrestling, that being you, Tony Khan, AEW, if part of that agreement is to help give Impact Wrestling more exposure, not just with the men and women showing up on your shows to participate in events, but to, also promote, the pay-per-views and stuff. If that's got to be part of it, then so be it. That's got to be part of it. But yeah, if I'm Impact in AEW, I continue this partnership and I continue it as soon as possible. But what do you guys think? Do you think Impact and AEW made the right decision in not renewing and ending this at Bound for Glory? Or do you think maybe this should be renewed for both sides to help benefit them, in the long run? Both of them, that is, basically Impact more so than anybody. What are your thoughts? Comment down below, live chat during the premiere, which hopefully you have. Like the video. Check out the Teespring store. Check me out at BW Roses Discussions on all your audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out at Patreon/BW Roses, as well as check me out at BW Roses on VENMO for other content as well. And that's about it, guys. So till next time, God bless, take care, and I'll talk to you all later.